And for my next trick, I'll be converting this disaster of a countertop into this modern masterpiece. Thank you, way too kind. So today I'm working on refinishing the countertops in the RV. We have three main countertops to do. There's the kitchen countertop, the largest piece, and then there's another square section in the kitchen just off to the side, and then we're also going to be using the same sheet of formica to make our bathroom vanity countertop. So I've already tried a couple ways to cut the formica. I've used a jigsaw, which caused too much damage. It didn't give me a clean cut. I used a hand saw like this with a reciprocating saw blade in it, and it actually did a very good job of cutting, but my line wasn't perfectly straight and it took a lot of energy to do so. And then I've also just used a standard X-Acto style knife or carpet knife, and it actually does a very good job. You have to go over it a lot and then you snap it, but if you're not just doing a straight line, it's a little tougher to use. And right now I'm going to show you doing the bathroom vanity top. What you want to make sure is that you leave extra on each side. In this case I was able to remove the kitchen counter, so I can do extra, about a 1/4 inch extra on every side, so that when I glue it down I'm not too worried about having it exactly positioned in place. However, if you cut it to perfect size, then you're going to have a lot more problems putting it down and making sure it fits perfectly. So I've gone ahead and I've already cut my square kitchen piece and my full kitchen counter piece, and now I'm going to work on the vanity piece. Like I said, it's going to be a little bit larger than the vanity countertop. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to remove the vanity countertop, so it's going to be more work down the road, getting it to fit perfectly, finishing the edge. So we'll get started. So I've used my square and a fine tip Sharpie to mark out where I plan to cut. Now my vanity countertop isn't exactly square, so I've gone ahead and marked out the exact size and added a little extra on the edges, and I'll come back with the router once it's installed and trim all that off. So the basic shape is going to be like this. It's 42 inches by 20 inches and 12 inches. Once it's marked out, the thing I like to do is take my straight edge, and then I'll take a couple clamps and I'll clamp it down as a guide for the knife. So now that I've got my straight edge clamped down as a guide, I'm just going to use my knife and continually score it a few times before I'm able to snap it. So now I'm able to just take the piece and snap it right off. As you can see, I've placed a piece of cardboard underneath while I'm making my cuts as to not damage anything underneath. If it's just scrap wood you have underneath, it's not a problem. But in this case, I have my kitchen countertop and the other piece of laminate that I didn't want to damage. So I'm just going to remove the clamps, place my straight edge somewhere else, and repeat the process. left with this piece just a little bit larger than my vanity. I'll trim off the excess once it's glued down. We relocated the sink, which required adding some 2x2s to span the hole and filling the hole with plywood. We filled the gaps around the edges with no more nails and sanded it all down until it was smooth. Then we did a quick pass over the entire surface with a palm sander and 80 grit sandpaper. This roughed it up to give the glue more grit to stick to. After sanding, wipe it clean with a damp cloth or sponge. Wipe down the back side of the new piece of laminate as well to remove any dust or oils. You can use a product like TSP if you like. Just make sure to wipe off all the residue afterwards. Make sure there's no bumps, depressions, or raised edges on either surface, or they'll show through and cause issues with sticking the surfaces together. We use contact cement to adhere the new piece of laminate over the old piece. Apply a thin layer of contact cement to the back of your new piece of laminate using a foam roller. Be sure to get the edges and corners really well. There shouldn't be any globs or runs in the cement. Work it in so there's no wetness or residue remaining. Roll it until it's dry. Set that piece aside to dry for 30 minutes and repeat the same process to apply the cement to the surface you are covering and allow it to dry for 30 minutes. The contact cement will stick the two pieces together instantly on contact, leaving no ability to make adjustment later. To help position the laminate in place, we're using 1-inch PVC pipe we had laying around. This will let us get the laminate in the proper position before it comes in contact with the counter. When ready to start, remove the center piece and press down firmly with a hard roller or a piece of 2x4 covered with a soft towel or fabric. This will help it slide on the surface. Work your way out from the center to the outside, making sure to get the edges and corners well. Do the same in the other direction until all the pipes are removed and pressure has been thoroughly applied to the whole surface and edges. So today I'm going to trim the formica countertop. I've got it glued down with my contact cement, and I left an overhang lip so that I can go around with the router and clean it off and make it nice and flush. I'm going to be using this straight bit. You can see it has a ball bearing edge, so that'll press right up against the edge of the counter and it will do a straight cut, trimming just the formica just at the edge of the counter. Now this is a very hard surface, the formica, so I'm going to use my router and I'm going to use it at a high speed. So I'm just going to take my bit, pop it in, use my wrench, just tighten it down, just like that, as you can see. So then I want to set my depth so that the wheel runs along the bottom of the countertop and it's not below. That'll make sure it's a very flush, straight cut edge of the formica. I'm also going to make sure to go in a counterclockwise direction so that the cutting wheel is going the correct direction, and that'll give me a very nice clean cut edge. We'd removed the old trim with a paint scraper, and there's no way we were putting that back on. We got some pine trim from the local hardware store, gave it a dark stain and clear coat, and used some construction adhesive and some finishing nails to attach it. It goes really well with the dark hardware of the cabinets. The old sink was located right in this area, right in front of the window, and so really we had almost no counter space on this side and very hard to use counter space on that side. So by moving the sink over and going to a round sink, we've actually been able to add a lot of usable counter space here. We've really liked the improvement of that. Here you can see the second piece. Again, it matches
with a nice wooden trim. And there's, I don't know if you can pick it up, there's a little bit of texture to this. Makes it look a little nicer, but anyway, I really like the look of it, and it goes well in the space. We have the exact same stuff in the bathroom as well. The bathroom counter we weren't able to remove when we replaced the countertop, so we actually replaced it in place, and that took a little bit more work to trim. I brought the router in and I was able to get almost to the edge, so I was able to do this part in and over, but the corners were a little bit more difficult to get up against the edge. I didn't have an edge router, so what I did was I just used a file for the last little bits, and it turned out fine. Really happy with how everything worked. For all the tips and tricks on living a nomadic adventure, check out lifeenroute.com. And don't forget to share, like, and subscribe so you don't miss out on the fun.